Hi, I'm Robin Boyce for City Corner. Come on back because we're going to be talking about mining for diamonds in East St. Louis and a restraining order for saying something on Facebook. Come on back. Welcome back to the studios. I'm Robin Boyce for City Corner. I'm glad you could really get with us today on this episode. In the studios with me right now is Miss Leilani. Did I pronounce that right?
No, La Nina.
La Nina Kaysen, Miss La Nina Kaysen, who's Executive Director of Diamond in the Rough. Along with her is Poet Laureate, Dr. Eugene Redmond in East St. Louis. Dr. Redmond, I'm so glad you could come. Thank you so much for coming in. Judge Kaysen, who's also a judge in East St. Louis. Diamonds in the Rough, tell us a little bit more about this organization.
Diamonds in the Rough is a mentoring program that I started about 9 years ago in East St. Louis in the middle school. The school district is lacking right now for a lot of role models, female role models. And so what I did is it was a program for developing our at-risk middle school girls into becoming successful, educated, powerful young women. And so what I have done is bring African American ladies particularly back into the schools to come and mentor our young girls twice a month and help them into building their self-esteem and their inner energy so that they can become the best that they can be and reach their full potential.
That is such an important age. That's when it all starts kicking in a little bit, and maybe a little even earlier these days with social media like it is and some of the other things that our young people have access to. But I'm sure that as you were putting this whole piece together, what were some of the things you were seeing that needed to be shored up?
Well, I am a native of East St. Louis. I still have loved ones in East St. Louis. I own property in East St. Louis. And I was educated by some very well-intended and well-meaning teachers. And they guided us, and they were strong. The teachers educated, the parents were involved. And we don't have that much of that in the school district.
I imagine things have been kind of cut back because of cutbacks in education with reference to funding and all those kinds of things. I know over the years we've been looking at some of the things that have been happening with District 189. Dr. Redmond, I know back in the day when I was a reporter over in East St. Louis and covering some of the things that were going on. I remember being on the radio at one time, and it was the beginning of school. And there was this big Post-Dispatch article that was on front page saying no teachers in the classroom in East St. Louis for the first day of school. We decided to go over there and gang up with the teachers, with the parents, and we drove to Springfield, Illinois, and we shut the Capitol down to get attention about, you know, what are you all trying to do here? Our young people need an education. They don't need to be out of school. Our teachers need to get paid. What do you see going on at this time compared to the years of fighting to educate people in East St. Louis? Because you've been at it for a while.
Well, I see a sea change in how the district is run, how children are taught.
Is it a positive sea change?
Not completely.
Okay.
For one thing, so many of the teachers and administrators were homegrown. And that's becoming less and less the case.
Okay.
People are imports. And you knew your teachers.
Right.
You knew your principals.
Yeah.
You know, like you knew your minister,
Yes.
like you knew the moms and pops that ran the stores, or the coaches. And so that is not as evident, that is not as present. And knowledge of self, which comes more naturally when you're taught by your neighbor, by someone who played with your older brother or sister or your
Yes.
parents, who knew you from the time you came into the world. Well, that person was the one that taught me. Dr. Katie Wright, for example,
Oh, wow.
taught me in the 5th grade.
Wow.
And so she
That's
knew something about me.
That's
Although
a
she was
history.
from St. Louis, she became an East St. Louis.
Yes, she did. She did a lot
So,
of work over there.
so
for
that's just
years.
that's one of the things that is not as it's not as integrated or reintegrated into the system. So you just don't have that natural concern or natural interest when you are not of the place. So that is one of the things that's missing. We knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody.
It was a village.
Yeah,
It was a
everybody knew
village back in the
everybody,
day.
yeah. So you don't have that. And black youngsters in particular, you know, in the 70s, a number of psychologists started saying, and of course we've always known it, but started saying black youngsters need to be taught their own history. It's the key to self-development, self-reliance, self-sufficiency.
And great
And a
self-esteem.
wholesome self-esteem and a wholesome self is the key. It is the main key.
Is that what you saw, Judge Case, in the girls? Was a lack of really positive self-esteem, or really feeling good about self?
Absolutely. When I first started the program, I said it was for at-risk middle school girls, and my girls were like, well, at risk? What you mean, at risk?
Right.
And I tell them that it's not just being at risk, it's the danger, but it's your environment. And we have no hospitals in the city of East St. Louis. We have no sit-down family-style restaurants, no few businesses. There's just really not a lot of activity for our young girls. And so I noticed that, and by me being at the time the youngest judge in the county, I felt like I had the platform to go out and show the girls that there are possibilities once you prepare yourself and cut yourself and shape yourself into the young lady that you want to become, then you can shine. And so they really appreciate that, and it's really heartwarming to just be accepted by the young people and have them respect you and look up to you and really see them in you.
Now, is this a referral program? Are you set up in a school, or are you going around recruiting young girls?
Well, I'm at the Mason Clark Middle School.
Okay.
I chose that school because I have an aunt that works there and has worked there for years. And I have the principal to get me, I always tell them, I want the baddest little girls that you got, the most disciplinary problems. But when and they say, okay, so they bring me these young girls, but when I get them, I'm like, these little girls are sweet.
Yeah, they usually
I mean,
are.
I asked them, I'm like, why were you chosen? Why
Right.
do you think you were chosen for the program? And some of the times they say, well, I talk too much, or, I'm always causing problems. And so we talk about these things. I want them to show me their personality. I let them be who they are, because that's when you can really reach a child, when you are meeting them where they are. So, and that's what breaks the ice a bit. And then when the women, the professional women that I have to come in to speak to them, when they come in and connect with the young girls, they see themselves as being doctors. They see themselves as being law enforcement or scientists or the like. So, and that fulfills me. to know that I'm giving back to the young girls in that way.
The girls are receptive. They really feel like, wow, this is interesting. I never met someone like that, but to actually meet someone who is a doctor or who is a bioscientist really is making a difference?
Absolutely, absolutely. At the beginning of the year, I asked them, I said, what are your career ambitions? You know, some of them haven't even thought about it. You know, and that gets them, I said, what do you see, your personality? What kind of career do you see yourself, encouraging? How do you see yourself in the world?
Right.
And so they say, well, I want to be a doctor. Oh, I want to be a cosmetologist. Oh, I want to be in law enforcement. So I get doctors and cosmetologists and people from the medical profession to come in and talk to them about where they went to school, their economic background. And so, and they see themselves in the girls, and the girls see themselves in the ladies.
Which is awesome.
Which is awesome.
Yes, it's just beautiful. Dr. Redmond, when it comes to the community at large, embracing what Diamonds in the Rough is doing, what needs to be done? I mean, we have food deserts. We need grocery stores.
Yeah.
We need banks in the community. I know some people who are from East St. Louis, graduated from the East St. Louis high schools and everything, who are bankers now, who are trying to peel in there, who are doing excellent work. Jackie Joyner Kersey has done an excellent job over there and building that beautiful center and continuing to make sure young people have somewhere to work. But what more can the community at large do to start propping up and helping East St. Louis grow?
Well, it's the community has to be viewed both by itself and from outside as a whole one, not a crippled one, and not as a well-fared society.
Yes.
And back to what I said about people being imported to teach, that's not inherently a bad thing. It's nice to have a mix.
But it would be nice to have,
The community needs to be in possession of its own direction, in possession of its own resources, and be able to invite the kind of help that it needs once that help has been identified, once those needs have been identified. The community should have the mechanisms through its own resources, its institutions. You know, it's church-based institutions, it's businesses, it's parent-teacher organizations.
To make a difference.
It's professional and social groups to
all those things
make
just
those kind
really
of,
need to
right.
come together. I really wish we had more time, and we said we could talk for an hour about everything that's going on.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Judge
Thank you.
Kaysen, for coming on. And if there's anything you need from us, we'll come on over and help you out anytime with the young ladies. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this segment. Come on back. We've got some more good information for you.
Oh, have you seen that piece on the Tiffany neighborhood on STL TV?
No.
Let me show you.
My wife and I were looking for homes. We lived in the city all of her life, and there's just a different energy when you're in the city.
Keep up with what's happening in your neighborhood. Watch STL TV. Be in the know.
We here at STL TV want to connect with you as we bring up-to-date information going on in your city. Whether it's events with the mayor, sports, music, and even spotlights on regional organizations, we're here to bring you the 411. You can keep current with STL TV and its shows by following us on Facebook at STL TV and both Twitter and Instagram at STL TV channel. What are you waiting for, St. Louis? Get connected and in the know today.
And welcome back to City Corner. I'm Robin Boyce, and in the studios with me right now is, I call her my Facebook policy wonk. But Tanya Jones is here in the studio with us right now to talk about an interesting piece that happened to you within the last couple of years or so. But this has everything to do with freedom of speech. And you being able to, as most of us are because of that particular amendment, and it's our First Amendment right to speak out. But this had everything to do with things that we face as females, as we're rolling in the world with a relationship and an ex, and you wind up getting a restraining order to not talk at all on Facebook. Please explain this. I was appalled when I got this.
Yes, so as you know, and as you said, for a Facebook post, that really I waited years to discuss. You know, as you said, I speak on hot button
Yes, you
political issues that involve women and especially African American women, how the policies actually impact our everyday lives in life and love, how
Right.
it impacts us.
Well, you do a good job of it because you break down things and you give people links to go to and not just take your word for it. So you put legitimacy in what you have to say online.
Oh, thank you. Exactly. I have come upon it myself from the data. So I use data to also personalize our pain and our issues, how it actually impacts us every day in our lives. So how would I not add my personal experience that was a melodramatic one, unnecessarily
Now,
melodramatic?
Let's get to the case. You were in a relationship
I was.
and you all broke up. Was the male in question, did he decide to break up, or how did that happen?
Oh, and let me state, the first relationship, 2 relationships in 20 years.
Okay, I understand. I get that.
So it isn't like there's been
Right.
a plethora of options and viable options for us because of those social economics that I talk about that take that social exclusion and economic exclusion and how it impacts us actually in life and love. So I was
Yes.
in a relationship, and there was some of those social economics like unemployment,
Okay.
all of these issues that I speak about that impact our lives. Even our names, how having an ethnic sounding name
Yes.
makes it harder to even receive callbacks
Sure.
from employers.
Or zip codes.
From employers,
Yes.
being college educated, how a high school dropout of certain groups have more odds of getting employment.
Sure.
So all of those social economics that I speak about came to head in my own life.
Okay.
And so I waited years after I could definitely say that there was no
Right.
vengeful spirit, no malice, just to talk about my personal experience, and I called it Heartbreak in Black and White.
And you wrote about this on Facebook,
I did.
and the respondent in this case, because they took it to court. The respondent in this case was upset that you talked about the relationship, what had happened. It wasn't a vengeful thing that you talked about, but you were hurt, and you just basically expressed that.
And I actually felt I had permission to, because the respondent in this case publicly, I used public resources, public images That's how I was aware of public marriage.
Which you did not know about at the
that
time.
I did not know
and,
about.
you know,
Correct.
So as you went along and after saying what you had to say online, the respondent filed a restraining order?
So yes. So
Okay, now, well, let me just give you the definition of what a restraining order is. 'Cause
Okay.
see, we're talking Facebook and you just expressing yourself and what happened. And a restraining order was filed. A restraining order is a court order intended to protect you from further harm from someone who has hurt you, to keep the abuser away from you, or to stop harassing you, or keep the abuser from the scene of the violence, which may include your home, place of work, or apartment. It is a civil order and it does not give the abuser a criminal record. Now, was there abuse involved?
There wasn't even any contact between
That's what I mean. Was
the
right.
respondent and I.
Okay.
There hadn't been contact between us in years.
Not even in talking or anything at all. So why restraining order?
So that's why it was considered.
That sounds abusive to me to use the law like that.
Abuse of process, exactly. It was abuse of the court process. The adult abuse restraining order has some clear intents. And in researching that as a layperson, I had to research what the intent of the legislature was in forming this process.
Right.
And in doing so, Robin, I discovered that, of course, the intent of this court was to protect people from real threat, not their reputation from harm. That is tort court. You go to tort court to take somebody to court if you feel that they defamed you.
Right.
And the
With reference to
initial
defamation of character or what have you.
and the initial this respondent went to the court and got an initial ex parte immediate order saying that I defamed them on social media.
But that's not a restraining order. I mean, when you go to get a restraining order, it's because I'm scared that this person is going to hurt me physically in some kind of way. You know, I don't.
Correct.
Okay.
So I felt I had to stand up for not only myself, but others who this is a big platform for us to have a voice. So it wasn't just about me. It was about, I searched and I looked for other case law and other instance of someone getting a restraining order for social media
How
post.
did you get it to the appellate court? I mean, you went
So-
all the way. I'm so proud of you.
Yes, so went to the lower court, went to the hearing. This person got immediate order of protection against, I guess you could say, my mouth.
Yeah, 'cause,
My
well,
voice.
You were writing though.
Yes,
You were writing.
my
it was not,
which
you
is
weren't
still
even
a
speaking.
form of our voice.
Right.
Exactly. And so the lower court actually gave a full order of protection that didn't meet the law, didn't meet the standards of the statute, but waited days, not in the after the actual hearing, said that they had to review the post and see if
Okay.
there were any threats, and then give us an order.
Now,
a
saying that
verdict.
about the post, Facebook, I understand from some other legal people that I had an opportunity to talk to about this. If Facebook felt that there was some threat or physical or harm there, they would have shut your account down, correct?
Not only did Facebook not shut down my account, they didn't even challenge the actual post.
Exactly.
The post was really telling my story.
It was just
it was telling a story,
Right.
And
Right.
through my lens, and so we went to court, had a hearing, and to my chagrin, I received a full order of protection, and not only was it a year protection order, it was a 2-year continuous order of protection.
What did you do to fight that? What were your steps?
So, and just imagine how shocked I was.
You had to have been.
Because I still, although we know that there's been a different standard of law in certain communities, I still went to court with all confidence that this was going to be thrown out even. And not only was it not thrown out, I was given one of the harshest penalties, you can say. And restraining orders, you did say that it's not a
Right.
criminal matter, but it can be a criminal matter.
It can be if the person that you have that restraining order against reaches out or does something negative with reference to that 100 feet or whatever is in that
But
restraining
not
order.
only that, the impacts, it is imperative that the lower court get these correctly, and it's not left to the whim of the court or a judge. It is important. These restraining orders are to protect people.
Yes.
And there are stiff repercussions for them. For instance, they dictate where we can live. They dictate, often there's background checks for employment. They
look at our credit.
Exactly. And in addition to that, whether you could possibly keep custody of your children,
yes.
it also impacts it says that you are violent, you are
That's
a
what
threat.
that restraining order
That's
is about.
they're restraining your
Now-
behavior. It
now-
says that you don't regulate.
You don't, right, exactly. You go back after this order is hit against you, and really quickly, we're running out of time, and you were able to get this thing turned around. The judges on the appellate, it was the Missouri Court of Appeals Eastern District said, we're reversing this, it's crazy. How did they help you feel?
So it was vindicating to get that appellate verdict, but it wasn't an easy process. Although there is 80 to 90% of these cases are pro se, which means self-defended individuals in these types of cases. And to go through the appellate process on my own, to write my own legal brief, was very difficult. Just the format on the appellate brief could cause you to get your brief rejected.
Bottom line is, you got this thing reversed. It's out of the court. You won. You can say what you want to on Facebook. I really appreciate you being the advocate that you are.
Thank you, Robin.
And while you're out there, I really do. We're running out of time now, but I want to have you back with some other ladies to kind of talk about Me Too and trying to shut women down. And because this is what, to me, when I read it, I saw, oh, they're just trying to shut this lady down. And she has something to say here, regardless of what it was all about, whatever. Anyway.
Well, thank you, Robin, for having me.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to City Corner. We've got a lot more information coming up on down the line. Stick with us and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're out there, STL TV, here at this wonderful location where we love you guys and we want to get the information to you. So that's stltv.net. Check us out.